welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 240. Hello, it's been a minute. It's been a while since you've been home. Shout out to Jodeci. I'm back. Welcome back. We're here. Let's get into it. I took the entire week off from podcasting, and I excused it for Holy Week. So that's my reason. I try to give a good excuse, like, oh, well, what do I want to excuse not having a podcast release this week? And I'm going to give it to Holy Week and just feeling burnt out. So I'm glad that I took that week off. So there was not an episode for Tuesday and for Friday. As you know, Friday's full episodes are only on Patreon, and I give a 10-minute free preview of the Friday episodes on the main platform, but you can find the full episodes on Patreon, patreon.com/GodBuiltThis. But yeah, I did not release any episodes last week, and I'm happy I did so. I just needed a quick break. I felt really burnt out, just like with just life, with work, and I think me eating really poorly a couple of weeks ago, right before the start of my period, really impacted me to the point of just disaster. Like, I didn't know what to make up or what to make of the internal struggles I was dealing with. And I know I ate a lot of red meat. If I could really pin it down to something, I know that it's because of the red meat that I was eating a lot of really impacted my moods. And learning about PMDD. So PMDD, for those who may not be familiar, to my 70% male listeners who may not know what PMDD is, of course, since you're a man, PMDD stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And basically, it's a severe form of PMS, which stands for premenstrual syndrome, which is the cause of a range of emotional and physical symptoms every month during the week or two before your period. And, you know, typically with women, we get PMS just like naturally when it comes to being on our cycle. And with PMDD, it's even more severe. So you're even more moody, you're even more just stressed the fuck out. Like your mind is in a fog, even more so than usual or than what's expected. So PMDD occurs during the luteal, luteal phase of your menstrual cycle. And I mean, I wish I could just like say all these things in a way that makes that is so clear and articulate, but even me, I had to, as a woman, I still had to look this up and understand the different phases of the of the cycle. Of the menstrual cycle. Like, I only count for when the blood comes in. Like, what's the first day of the blood? That's when I start my menstrual cycle, you know, and what's the last day of the blood? That's how I just like categorize it in my mind. The whole luteal phase, I'm sure I've learned this when I was younger, but I obviously don't remember. It's not something that I have been reminding myself of. But anyway, so I was feeling a lot of strong emotions. Let's see. So there are 11 symptoms of PMDD: anger or irritability, feeling on edge, overwhelmed or tense, anxiety and panic attacks, depression and suicidal thoughts, difficulty concentrating, fatigue and low energy, food cravings, binge eating or changes in appetite, headaches. When I tell you I felt all of this, every single one I felt for days prior to the start of my period. And there was one weekend I felt really, really low. And I didn't know how to navigate it. Like, I don't even know how to vocalize it, but I knew it was just a strong feeling. Like, it was a wave of depression that came over me. It was a wave of anxiety. And I think, like, and I initially I just thought it was just provoked by just with working in the school system. It's just naturally stressful. There's a lot going on, but also just feeling the hopelessness I felt about um just the way of the world and the work that I do and what I want for myself, and like it not like going, it's it not happening, like always just feeling kind of like hopeless. There's like this like intense feeling of hopelessness. And I haven't been praying in a long time. I really haven't been spending much time in prayer. I'll pray here and there, but like not as intensely as maybe I should. It was just a lot of different feelings. And I definitely know that with the increase at that time of red meat, it definitely fucked up my hormones even more. Like I was eating beef flanks, which is this recipe that I've been doing for a couple of years. Like I remember since moving here, I used to eat beef flanks a lot. Like I would have this recipe, like I would season it with Ep.240, the Haitian seasoning that Haitians y'all know and maybe other people know, but just like this seasoning that we mix up and we put on every meat, every meal to as we're cooking it. So you can put it in your rice as you start cooking your rice, and you can put it in your meats, whatever meat you cook. Eppies is amazing. Okay, it's like it's your one-stop shop for seasoning. Anyway, so I will always use Eppies to cook this beef flank, and that's what it's called at HEB. It's called beef flank. It's like these beef ribs. It's not necessarily designed as like a regular type of rib that you are familiar with, but it's called beef flanks nonetheless. And I would typically eat it with rice or vegetables, or rice and vegetables. So I was eating a lot of that. I think I had a burger one or two times. I was just not really paying attention or not really like checking myself when it comes to the red meat intake I was having. I think I had steak a couple of times too. Like I was eating a lot of red meat. Cause it just always feels good. Like it's like it tastes good, y'all. I mean, it tastes good. Anyway, I just think the cost of that is not worth it anymore. After that period that I had of these symptoms, the cost of that is not worth it. Like I really don't think I should eat any red meat, or that type of red meat, at least, you know, for forever. Or at least for a long time. I really do like goat meat. I haven't had that in a minute though. So that's fine, but like, you know, I don't know. I really think there should be a drastic switch or something that can be one of the remedies to this PMDD experience I had. Now, it was so bad that I was really afraid that, you know, every month, you know, you get your period unless you're pregnant. But I was really afraid of like the next time, right? Like, but this past period, or like a couple of weeks ago, or weekends ago, that was when I felt it the most. And I really do think it's because of the increase of red meat that I was consuming. So I'm wondering if I take an intentional break from red meat and I just, you know, start to eat a little bit cleaner or more intentional, just considering my hormones, because I already know I have a high estrogen level from one of the times I went to the doctors, and that was what was reported to me after running some tests. So already having high estrogen, which definitely impacts your hormones, eating a lot of red meat doesn't really come to my favor. So it was that. It was just a lot going on. Now I'm feeling great. I mean, not great, but I mean, in comparison, yeah, I'm feeling great. I still feel like this like sense of hopelessness though, like just with just some goals or ambitions that I have for myself. I feel like I'm never going to get there. And what I mean by that is just every time I apply to new jobs or jobs that are more advantageous to my financial goals and just goals that I have for myself, like becoming a homeowner one day, and just having this amount saved in one of my bank accounts and this amount saved in my other bank account, like stuff like that, like with the salary that I'm working with now, granted, relatively, it's a fine salary, but it's also not good enough. And whenever I try to put myself out there to get something that's better than what I have, it just hasn't been an easy road. Like, and I'm to the point where I'm done applying to new jobs. Like, even within the system that I'm in right now, as far as like the workforce that I'm in, I'm done applying to new jobs in that system too. Like, I'm done. Like, it takes a lot of effort putting yourself out there, going on these interviews, telling these niggas about myself just to be racially discriminated against. It really does a toll on your mental well-being. So at this point, the employers could find me. I'm available, right? Like, you could find my info, like my resume is up on different sites. I'm accessible, right? But as far as me going out of my way to reach out and apply, fill this out, fill that out, providing a cover letter. I haven't done a cover letter in months. I definitely took a break from doing that. But as far as me going back to doing that and going back so gung-ho about, is it gung-ho? I keep on forgetting. My bad, Freckles Bay. Don't beat me up. No, I'm kidding. As far as me doing any of that is just like, fuck everybody. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the symptom of hopelessness. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm fighting with myself when it comes to stuff like that, because there's a large part of me that just wants to be like, fuck everybody, fuck everything. Y'all ain't shit anyway. What is time? Why am I even paying to live in the world that's really, it's ours? Like, I could go down that rabbit hole, right? But I also have to ground myself in the reality of this is the world that we live in. And so I still have to operate in these parameters as best as I can, like a fucking robot. But all of that is so difficult, And so, I don't know. So where was I going with it? So yeah, the feeling of hopelessness still prevails. Oh yeah, so like I'm battling with myself with that. Like, okay, well, fuck it, I'm just never gonna put so much for having ambition, so much for having these goals and dreams, but I still can't help but to have dreams and goals for myself, right? Like, I still can't help but to go on this space in my mind of these realities that I create for myself. Like, it feels so good to be in my head when I think about these goals and these dreams and the reality that I want for myself. It feels so good, right? Like, I imagine being where I am currently, right? Currently living in my own space, in my beautiful studio apartment. Like, I love my home. And I imagine this for myself. Like, I was just awaiting the day for it to finally happen. And it did. So I'm grateful for that. Actually, just think about that. Really just gave me some moment to pause, because that's beautiful. Sometimes we forget, like, hey, where you are currently is what you wanted and what you prayed for a while ago. And we don't take enough time to really reflect on that. So I think that just really, hold on, that kind of just stung me. That stung me for a second. Look, I am grateful. I just like, and I want more, right? You know what I mean? Like, you could want some things for yourself, right? and you get that, right? You get what you wanted, and then you're basking in it, and then it's like, wait, I have more dreams. I have more goals. It's not like you never stop wanting. You never stop dreaming and going after your goals and creating new goals. Like, I think there's space for more, and it's not on some greedy I want the world, Elon Musk type of shit. Like, it's not that. It's just I don't want to always live in this space. Like, I do would like just even being in my apartment, though I prayed for it and I am grateful for it. I am getting to a point where I don't want to say over it, but I just want something else. Like, I want more for myself. I want there's more. Like, there's more. This is not all that there is. There is more for myself. And for me, that looks like having my own house. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, every time I try to like get so strict on particular financial goals, like, life just keeps lifing, and I look at other people and like at least what they portray, and I'm like, how how are you able, just going back to that whole mindset. I'm trying not to compare, and I'm not really comparing. I'm just like making a point. Anyway, yeah, I think there's just this battle within me of staying in hopelessness and then still trying, and then the other side is me still trying to fight for the life that I want for myself, fight for the more, quote unquote, that I desire for myself. And God built this, like, God has created me as I am for a reason, and there's no shame in that. So I'm just trying to sit in that and find some navigation throughout it all. But there are times when it's difficult, and I think I made it more difficult than it needed to be because of the red meat that I was eating. Okay, that's going back to the first point. The beef, I don't know what the farmer did to the cow that really, or the ox, or right. And I had oxtail. Like, it was for days and weeks. I was consuming red meat after red meat. Like, every other meal was a red meat focus meal. So I don't know what that lamb or what that cow went through. I don't know what anxiety, depression that cow felt prior to being slaughtered, but it got to me. And I was feeling all the feelings from that animal. Like, I was feeling all of the depression and hopelessness, like 10 times more than what a human would normally feel without the consumption of all of the red meat and all of the animal product. So I'm laying off red meat. And it's so interesting how as soon as my period started, the PMDD symptoms went away. But nonetheless, though, I don't want to just like, oh, well, it went away. I have like some cushion room to intake some red meat. That's not how it works, child. I'm just gonna lay off of it because my life is worth living. All these things are like temporary, and yada yada yada. I'm trying to feed that, but yeah, sometimes it's just difficult, especially when you see like all of these people who have these like gatekeeping roles and don't find you worthy enough to enter the room, and it's at the point where it's like, fuck this room. Fuck you. Fuck the table. Fuck the door. Fuck the building. Fuck it all. That's my manifesto. But then it's like, oh, I gotta fucking live in this world. I gotta, So that's where I've been these past couple of weeks. I have prevailed, and I'm here, and I'm grateful. But it's not easy. Like, it's really not easy. And I I don't know, child. I don't know, but we're here. Let's get into these topics and talk about why a Wall Street accountant quits her job to become a professional girlfriend. And, you know, like at this point, it's a joke. I didn't even say the joke. I just said at this point, but y'all know at this point, when I say at this point, you know what that means. No, I mean, look, I get it. Like, and I think it just comes from a standpoint of like, no, like I don't want to live within these confines just and like be grateful for that. Like, what the fuck? Like, fuck these walls. Fuck the limits. Fuck this budget. Because, okay, and what I mean by that is like, oh, I have this cute little budget template and okay, but then what? Okay, but then what? Like, at what point, in 3.5 years, now you could reach that goal. Okay, but like, no, like, it doesn't work that way. Like, if you're still not getting paid enough, you follow a budget, it's like, you're like, it still doesn't amount to what you're achieving. I hope I'm making myself clear. Anyway, let's get into the article. A Wall Street accountant quit her job to become a professional girlfriend to wealthy executives. Now, what I find interesting about this is you would think she's making enough money, well enough money, being that she is an accountant on Wall Street. But maybe that's a stereotype that I need to unpack, because sure, maybe not everyone who works on Wall Street is making a lot of money. Just because you work on Wall Street doesn't mean, like, you know, that's just a stereotype. Maybe, you know. So anyway, her name is Mia Lee. She's Asian, if you haven't gotten that. There's this image of her. She's in this article. She's on the on the driver's seat of this luxurious car. I can't tell what brand of the car it is by the wheel that we see in the image. But she's in the driver's seat. She's wearing a white blazer, and underneath she got on this lace bra, and that's it. Well, and her pants, but like, she's clearly wearing this lace bra. Her eyes are covered with sunglasses. I don't know if she eventually shows her face throughout this article. I'm scrolling down, I don't see it yet. But maybe if you look her up, Mia Lee, maybe there'll be some pictures of her full face with no disguise. But Mia Lee worked as a forensic accountant on Wall Street before being diagnosed with depression. There we go. Okay, let's go. Let's get into it. She decided to become an escort for what? But like, that's such a big ass leap, right? Like, okay, so the way that this article goes, it starts off with bullet points, like these key bullet points for you to read first. And then you could read the whole article. I mean, you could scroll down and read the whole article, but I like the bullet points because it gets straight to the info. So the first bullet point is just Mia Lee worked as a forensic accountant on Wall Street before being diagnosed with depression. Okay. Now, a couple of questions there. How long did it take for her to become an accountant, right? What was the schooling, the credentials? What was it that she needed to accomplish to fulfill that role, especially on Wall Street, right? What was the hiring process like? All of that is already so stressful as it is. How long was she an accountant on Wall Street? And up until what point did she get diagnosed with depression? What was the pivotal moment in her life that led her to seeking medical care and attention to then been diagnosed with depression? You know, it takes a lot for someone to finally go to a professional and seek help. Mia Lee decided to become a professional girlfriend for a living after her Wall Street accounting job left her burnt out. And that's the key term here, burnt out. Yo, there are a lot of jobs, and I can only speak for my job in particular. I felt burnt out in so many instances, and it has triggered depression in me. It has triggered these feelings of hopelessness because every time I try to find ways out, the door is closed, the door is locked, the key is unfounded, right? So, child. Okay, so she's diagnosed with depression. She decides to become an escort for wealthy businessmen and now works full time as a professional girlfriend. She says she doesn't feel guilty and rarely feels fear, which helps her manage rule-breaking clients. So let's get into the full article. Mia Lee is a former Wall Street forensic accountant who loves collecting scotch, racing fast cars, and fighting mixed martial arts. These interests and her inability to feel shame, guilt, and fear make her the perfect girlfriend for hire for wealthy business and tech executives in New York City. Every month, Lee accompanies men on business trips and fancy dinners. She charges a minimum of $3,000 for up to 2 hours of her time. My God, today. My tagline is, you can take the girl off Wall Street, but you can't take the banker out of the whore. What? Let me say it again. You can take the girl off Wall Street, but you can't take the banker out of the whore. And it turns out that plays really well into a lot of professional gentlemen's dream girl from The Office fantasies. So in 2018, Lee was diagnosed with depression and went on medical leave from her accounting job. During leave, she realized the pace required to work in a firm wasn't good for her long-term health. Shit, I get that. So she quit her accounting career to become a high-end escort or professional girlfriend. In January 2019, Lee made her escort work her full-time job. Now she makes her own schedule, which has helped keep her mentally balanced and present in her personal relationships, said Lee, who is in an open marriage. Well, hello. Okay, well, that's awesome, dog. Look, you know what? Hey, God bless. This year, Lee says she expects to make $400,000 to $800,000 before taxes and expenses. And hold on, let's just pause right here because first I want to give kudos to her because, hey, she figured it out, right? But then there is a sense of just hopelessness that comes before me because it's like, God damn, I gotta give you this pussy, right? Or act like I'm about to give you the pussy, because sometimes you don't always have to in these cases. But nonetheless, like, I have to put myself in these situations in order to make livable income, you know, like not just income that pays my monthly and daily expenses, but income that allows for me and affords me the opportunity to travel, to save extensively, to take some time off of work. Like, that is just really sad though. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like the only way to make more money in this world, in the society that we're in, you have to sell a little bit of yourself. You have to sell your soul. Like, I really think that is the only way to go about this thing called life. And I think because I was just so raised differently, like I was just raised in this mindset of like, you know, be this good girl, you know, God's watching, stuff like that. You know, I still live my life the way I want as far as like what I do personally. But like some things like, you know, things like this, I never would even entertain like in real life. because of just my upbringing. And because shame will definitely play, shame, guilt, fear, all of that will play an epic role if I wanted to ever pursue something like this. But I do want to give her kudos for finding ways to not allow shame and fear and guilt to take over. I don't know. I just think overall, though, you have situations in this world where the only way people are able to come up is by doing something either illegal or quote unquote immoral. I had a coworker come up to me. This might be too even detail, but whatever. We're here. We'll just have a conversation about just like the finances of the field that we're in and the position that we're in, and how like he was trying to, let me just say this, he was showing me some like tricks and like ways to go around the system. That's all I'm gonna say, right? And I'm like, well, aren't you worried about the IRS? Like, what about, the technical matters that could possibly lead me to jail? And he was giving more information. I don't want to give too much, but I was listening to him, and I was in this conversation, and I was thinking to myself, like, what the fuck, dog? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is where we are. Like, I have to sell drugs. Like, I have to, fuck niggas. I have to sell drugs. I have to traffic drugs. I have to sell my body. Like, in order to get a life that is more, I have to, because doing things squeaky clean, doing things by the book, I want you to tell me where does that take you? So there is no other way around it. You have to find ways to cheat the system. And he was just showing me ways to do so, and I'm just like, yo, whatever happened to just like, as for me, like, I'm over here like, oh well, I'm just gonna apply to different positions that have a higher increase of salary and have more opportunities of advancement, and that is the way I'm going to break out of this perpetual cycle that I'm in financially. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that hasn't been working for me. Like, it hasn't been me constantly applying to different roles, right? Roles that I'm more interested in than quote unquote being in the classroom. Me applying to roles that are more financially appeasing, and me doing all these things haven't led me to anything, right? It's only led me but so far. And I just, the wave again of hopelessness comes over me, thinking like, is this all there is? Even though the answer is no, it's not all there is. Like, I know there's more to. I know things will break through some way, somehow. I hope, right? This hope that I still carry, foolishly, I guess, probably. But I feel like it just seems like there is no other way outside of cheating the system. Let me tell you about this. Okay, this just came up to me, right? I had a colleague who has left his current role as, let me just say this, he was a part of like leadership positions in his previous role. He left that role and got a job as the school principal at a whole different school, different district, a whole different area, moved to that school, the town, because it's like in this small town, and it's a small community, stuff like that. And I remember having a conversation with him, and he was like, how the salary that they gave him for the role is the same motherfucking salary as the role he had previous to accepting this new role as the principal. Okay? So let's say he's making $66,000 in his previous role. Now in his new role as the school principal, he's making the same amount. The salary that they gave him for the principal of a school is the same salary that he had in his previous role, in which he wasn't the school principal, in which he was like a support, let me just say a support principal, let's say that. And I'm just like listening to him in this conversation. I'm just, because I've learned to like, okay, you know, I don't want to be the one to kind of stamp on someone else's good news, right? Like if this is something that you want to do and if you're passionate about it and you've applied to it and you've already accepted it, who am I to be like, but wait, what? Like, who am I to kind of rain on your parade, you know? So I'm just like taking it in as he's telling me this. I'm thinking to myself, like, why the fuck would he take a job that is the same amount financially, but it's a higher role? You know, and sure, there's some benefit in like, well, you get to run things the way you want. Possibly, you know, there's always a board in any district, so maybe there's some limitations with that, but I think he has more of a leeway, which is what he was wanting. And, you know, I am happy for him in that sense, but I just overall, sorry, my nose. Overall, I just feel like this is it. that was it. Like that was that's all they could offer. Okay. You know, so it just makes me wonder about just like life. Like I'm tired of being humble. Like if I don't know why we gotta be in humility all the fucking time. I want to have a money phone. Hello? I want to put a stack of dollar bills by my ear and be like, hello? But seriously, and the way like going about life in this cookie cutter, I'm just going to revamp my resume. I'm just going to go back to school and, have more student loan debt. I'm just going to do all these things again and again and again just to reach what? A $1,200 increase? Like, what the fuck is this, dog? Like, this is not life. This is not life. It really isn't, you know? So when I, reading this article and seeing how she felt so burnt out, and it led to her being diagnosed with depression, which gave her, the reason to take on this medical leave. I fucking get it, dog. Like, it's sickening. It's sickening that we're supposed to be okay with this way of living. It's sickening that this is what they're trying to make us feel like, hey, you should be great. Sure, I'm grateful. Sure, but this is still not good enough. And that's where my mindset is. It's not good enough. You know, I should be able to do X, Y, and Z. I should be. You know, and I'm not coming from this mindset of like, oh, yeah, I don't want to have all the Birkin bags. No, it's not coming from that mindset. It's coming from the mindset of I shouldn't have to be able to like find strategical ways to fucking live and thrive in this world. You know, like I shouldn't have to have a coworker talk to me about ways to cheat the system. Like, why should we have to cheat the system to live comfortably? I always feel like I'm on edge. I'm always feeling like I'm like, okay, I think I got it this month, like, you know, and then be so grateful that I made it through another month. But this shit is for the birds, dog. Anyway, so she's making $400,000 at minimum, and at maximum $800,000. Okay, like you gotta be fucking kidding me. Lee said there's extremely high variance in her earnings due to volatile nature of sex work. So she diversifies her income with camming, stripping, and phone sex. I don't know, child. And I feel like I've had a lot of judgment when it comes to sex workers. You know, just on this podcast, kind of throwing some shots at this this Instagram couple that I look at on Instagram. and how they recently decided to, as a couple, go on OnlyFans. And I think I was just like feeling like, okay, wait, what? Like, what happened to like not being a part of the U.S. system and not like they moved out of the U.S. to live in this outside. I'm not gonna be too specific, but they don't live in the U.S. They live in one of the Caribbean countries to escape the matrix and all these things, and they seemingly live a free and liberated life. But even so, they're obviously having to find ways to earn more money for them to use OnlyFans as a way to do so, right? Like, I think there is a lack that they are experiencing, which led to them promoting their OnlyFans page on Instagram. So I just feel like, okay, well, it's not just a US thing, it's a world thing. It's this conditioning that we've been programmed to follow of how to live and operate in this thing called life. The first time Lee had sex for money, she didn't feel any shame. While working in finance, Lee was perplexed by the stigma surrounding sex work. She didn't see how a woman saying yes to sex for money was inherently wrong. When a coworker told her he'd been moonlighting as a sugar daddy on the adults-only website Seeking Arrangement, Lee said she signed up and quickly arranged a dinner date followed by sex as her first escort job. After 20 minutes of pretty bad sex, Lee was $1,000 richer. Oh, excuse me, y'all. Just allergies. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Instead of feeling dirty, she remembered depositing that money into her bank account and being like, I have gamed the fucking patriarchy, Lee told Insider. After a few more escort outings, she was hooked. At first, the money was inconsistent, but she quickly learned that growing her social media accounts was the best way to find new clients, many of whom are now regulars. During business dinners or conferences, she'll introduce herself as a client's colleague or girlfriend, but for the most part, no one asks, she said. Besides concealing her job and real name, Lee is herself, giving accounting advice, chatting about investments, and sipping on scotch. Since Lee doesn't feel guilt, enforcing rules she sets with clients is simple. So she created a list of rules for her clients to follow, such as, let's see what it says. This way, there's a standard of respect, and her job is streamlined and less stressful. Okay. Her cheapest offering is $3,000 for up to two hours of time, which includes any of the sex acts she's comfortable with in that pay range. For 88, you know what? I don't know, child. I just feel like it's such low vibrational work, though. You know, like, I just refuse to believe that this is the only way to go about cheating the system. You know, I've just adopted and accepted the whole, you know, your body is your temple. And though I do kudos her for making more money, that's awesome, but I also feel like this does wear on your soul. You know, work like that, you know, selling your body, allowing any and everybody to have access to you sexually, which is really a spiritual practice. It abuses you. It's not healthy. So, but then again, I just feel like it sucks, though, that we live in a world where this is one of the only options available to live a life that is thriving. right? Maybe it's a mindset shift that needs to happen instead. But nonetheless, like, it shouldn't have to be this. She shouldn't have to do this, right? Like, her initial job should instead have an environment that is not filled of coworkers who are burnt out, right? Like, that should be also something to change the system for, you know? Maybe I could be the change, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. But God bless, child. Um, so I don't have judgment for her as far as like pew pew, like ooh, not like that. I just, it's more so judgment about the world that we're in. It's more so judgment about the fact that we live in a society that makes us feel limitless. No, limited actually. Limited. And this is this is seemingly our only option. Yeah. I don't know. I just, I'm just the way I was raised. I'll just raised different, and I do want to credit my parents for that, for raising me in the church and like, with these different spiritual practices that have been embedded in me, and something, just the mindset that I have that have remained, because truth remains, right? Truth lasts. And the world that we're in will have us believing that some behavior is okay and some is not, and though she's making a lot of money and I'm happy for her, I just, is it worth it? Yes, it is. It is. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. But again, I'm not going to judge her. Maybe she could like pocket this money or save it as much as she can and create something else for herself that doesn't allow for her to give her pussy, So, but there has to be a way. There has to be a way. Let's go on to our next topic here, along the lines of a whole new topic. Okay, so let's talk about digital blackface. This is a term that I have just learned, and I find it interesting because we live in a society in which we are constantly communicating online, and there's different tools online to communicate. We use memes to show our emotions and innermost thoughts, and many white online users would use black memes or black video clips to express their feeling, etc. And now this is being called digital blackface. So digital blackface is a practice where white people co-opt online expressions of black imagery, slang, catchphrases, or culture to convey comic relief or express emotions. So there's so many different examples. So there's the example of Tyra Banks when she was on her show America's Next Top Model, one of the earlier seasons, and she's screaming at the contestant. She was saying, "I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?" I remember watching that live, and I just knew at that moment, history has changed. No, that was a really epic time when I watched it when I was like fucking in 5th grade or something. Anyway, so she's saying this, and a lot of people use this meme to just express their emotion or, convey comic relief. And it's just a common thing that we do online. We are in these communities online in which we find community with each other. We use expressions and memes and different graphic designs to showcase our humor, our connection with each other. And it's a beautiful time. But now a term has been placed on white online users for using black expressions and black memes and black viral videos as a way is as equivalent as um was it not blackface, but like, you know how white people would wear black hairstyles, but they take the credit for it, or they don't like give credit to black women for wearing it, and now it's that black person who created that hairstyle, like Bo Derek when she had on cornrows, and for the longest time it's been called Bo Derek braids. You know, a lot of white people will refer to it as Bo Derek braids, when it's like black women have been wearing braids for how long now? For centuries. So there's that. When Miley Cyrus came on our head tops on some, I'm this fun twerking white girl, and it's like she invented the word twerk, and her twerking and doing that dance move that elevated the sensation and the viral effect of twerking, and people were making twerking videos after that, and she gets the credit for that, when it's like, but black women and black girls have been twerking for centuries. And all that makes sense. I get that. I forgot the term for it. Is it plagiarism? But nonetheless, there's been a lot of instances in which historically white people have co-opted black mannerisms, black style, just black culture overall, and have been receiving the full credit for it and not giving the credit to black people. And so this term, digital blackface, is another example of that, because white online users use black expression, black videos to show their feelings, etc. Now, I mean, I get it, but I also feel like, so what? Like, you know, like, so what? I don't think this is that serious. Like, are we now going to arrest someone for using, or like ridicule them for expressing their thoughts with black expression online? Like, online space has been this avenue to express our innermost thoughts and use creative ways to do so. So if white people find comfort or find joy in using black expression, I don't think it's them portraying like they're black. I just think it's them connecting with our gestures and culture overall. Like, I don't think it's that deep. Honestly, I don't think it's that deep. Like, I remember when I was in Colombia and I saw this white female, whether she was from Ireland or not, she was white skin, and she had on these cornrows, and she looked good. I was like, I like your hair looks nice. And it wasn't a moment for me to be like, oh, look at this white bitch taking our styles. It's like my blackness is not any less just because a white woman next to me happens to be wearing a historically black hairstyle. Like, that doesn't make me less of a black girl, a black woman. You know, I don't have to prove my black womanness. Just like you have these trans women out here trying to prove they're a woman. It's like, okay. But me as a woman, I always gotta bring it back to trans shit. I always gotta bring it back to that because I won't stop. But for real though, like, I don't have to prove I'm a woman. I am, right? Like, so as it be, it is, like, it doesn't rock me. I don't have to prove anything. So this whole digital blackface, I just think it's another way for us to focus on things that really don't matter. Let people be whoever the fuck they want to be online. Let people express themselves online. The internet has been a safe space for so many, probably for everybody, but it really has different pockets of communities in which you feel most connected with outside of your in real life connections. And some people have more connections online than they do in real life. And that's just the reality that we're in. And so let people have that space. Like, I shouldn't have to feel like I gotta be so PC in any capacity, but definitely not online. Like, fuck this robot, you know? So there's that. Digital blackface is a term that people are using, but I am against it. Let's talk about JonBenet Ramsey. So her childhood home is on sale. It's not really a sale, but it's listed for sale for $7 million. And I want to know, why the fuck is it that expensive? You know, there are these homes that people will not purchase because of the history that the home possess. So, like, there are homes in which murders have taken place, cults have began, in homes that are haunted. There's a lot of homes that are still listed for sale but have not been successful because of the bad juju that it carries. And so for JonBenet Ramsey's childhood home to be on sale and for it to be as much as $7 million, I just feel like that is ridiculous. Like, come on, dog. Like, that's ridiculous. If anything, if someone does purchase this home, they should just tear it down and start anew, build a whole new house on that lot and create new memories as best as they can. But like, the living in that actual house, I don't know. Shit, don't have a little girl who's in pageants live in that house if you buy it. So yeah, the site where 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was found tragically murdered is on the market. And this is a Colorado property. So this home is in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, and it's up for sale for nearly $7 million according to a Zillow listing. This is where her body was found, in the basement after being discovered by her father, John Ramsey, and is described in the ad as a, quote, in impressive Boulder estate with timeless appeal in an unbeatable location. Interesting choice of words, but it's gonna be a no for me, dog. And I think I feel like there are some people out there who would even consider living in this house if it was considerably less money. You know, if it was on sale, if it was listed for much less than $7 million, there might be some cuckoo people out there who would purchase the home. Like, there's a whole community on Reddit, you guys, of people who are committed to still solving this case, who have figured it out and is expressing their theory to whomever will read their posts. It's thousands of people. I visited the community and I recently left it because, not recently, it's been a while since I've been on it. Since I've been a member in it. But I was curious to see, like, I wonder if there's a community. And of course, there's a community for anything on Reddit. Reddit is the bomb. But there's thousands of people on JonBenet Ramsey's Reddit page because there's a lot of people who are committed to figuring things out. Like, it's a hobby and it has become so addictive for people to figure out particular unsolvable or still has yet to be solved crimes. So people find it within themselves to put pieces together and criminalize people and paint this label upon someone. There's a theory that the brother did it. And the brother was young then also. He wasn't 6, but he was probably like 3 or 4 years older. And the theory is that the brother was jealous of JonBenet Ramsey. She got a lot of attention. There's some pictures of him with the whole family in the photo, and you see the brother just kind of pouting and looking afar, and people are trying to theorize, oh, well, look at him, he's jealous of his sister and he can't even look straight into the camera, and trying to give him, like, trying to find any way to pin it on the brother. And I just, like, you know, you never know. I don't know. And the parents found out that it was the brother, but they protected him because it will be worse to lose both children. What else? They think that the mother did it because she was this pageant mom and she had enough with JonBenet Ramsey. She was peeing in the bed still. And uh she striked her one time, but one time too hard, and it led to her being unconscious and eventually dead. So there's so many different theories. I don't know what to believe. It just really, it lets you on this rabbit hole. It is really, it's kind of scary. That's why I had to leave the community, because it was just too much. Like, it was so many different things to read about. I felt like such a newbie because there were these terms and acronyms people will use that was normal. Like, you will say these terms to mean something else, and I had to ask so many questions. I felt like such a new kid on the block, and thankfully there were some people who answered me. But the point is, there's a whole community of people who have spent years upon years investigating this case on their own. They have their own board at home with red tape and red lines and red yarn, piecing different photos together. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, so mind you, she died by being choked out. So she died from being asphyxiated. Oh my gosh. She was choked out, unfortunately. And not only that, but she was also bludgeoned to death in 1996. So according to the report, so this said here, the outlet reported that Carol Schuller Milner, the daughter of televangelist Robert H. Schuller, and her husband purchased the estate in 2004, 8 years after JonBenet was asphyxiated. That is a hard ass word. How do you say that word? And bludgeoned to death in 1996. So yeah. So the house was purchased after the death. I wonder how they did that. That's interesting. So the family sold the property in 1988 to a group of investors, according to the Denver Post. Okay, got it. So a group of investors. So she died in 96. Was it 90? Hold on. Was it 94, 96? I think it was 94. The Ramseys bought the property in 91. And the family sold the property in 98 to a group of investors, according to the Denver Post. And a group of investors. I guess some people, the investors, maybe they rented it out for like a museum type of use. Like, if people wanted to look at the space and take pictures, it was available to people for a fee, probably. But now is back on sale. And she was dead. She was found dead in 96. So she was found dead in 96. They bought the property in 91. So they spent 5 years there before, unfortunately, before her demise. And she was, and the house was put on sale, or was sold to a group of investors in 98. So 2 years after. Got it. So there's a list of homes that are hard to sell because of history. I remember reading this somewhere. I can't find it now. Oh, there we go. I think this is it. The world's most unsellable homes. I remember watching something. I think it was on YouTube. But there's so many examples of different homes that have haunting history. And so people are feeling uncomfortable with living there. I think they can't find it. I think that's not it. Oh, this, okay, I think I found it. I don't know, child. I don't know if this is the right one. Anyway, go ahead and look it up if you're interested. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate every listen, and I hope everyone's doing well. And I thank you for your listen. Please be sure to tell a friend, subscribe, leave a review, and I will check in with you all next time. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. If you liked it, leave a review, share, and subscribe. God bless.